Hi, I'm Merrill Balancier. Welcome to another edition of FireWatch. Today we have more fire safety tips. We're going to talk about overloading electric outlets. Outlets are designed to flow 15 to 20 amps normally in a regular outlet in your home. So if there's two outlets, there should be two appliances plugged in. Often people will plug in an extension cord because their lamp or whatever it may be is not close enough. Well, you plug in your extension cord and then it may have two or three additional outlets on this. Well, this is designed, perhaps you have your telephone or answering machine, and that's fine because it's low flow of electricity. But what you don't want to do is when you have two or three items plugged in, is plug in an additional extension cord. Right here, we have an additional extension cord plugged in with other items. What this causes is a high rate of electricity to flow through the cords. When they heat up, there's nothing to stop the electric flow. So we have extra items plugged in here in this outlet, which perhaps could throw the breaker, but this is not good. If it's one plug, plug one item in. If you have an extension cord for a lamp, just plug that one lamp in that extension cord. But you don't want to plug an additional extension cord in. What we do have for an outlet is a surge strip. You can take your surge strip, if you have say your telephone, your a lamp, and maybe a clock radio, and you want to plug all of them in here. Well, this is designed for that. It plugs in to the wall, and then you have a surge strip, which if there's an additional or too much electricity flowing, it will actually cut the power off to that surge strip and shut everything down. This is what you want to use in your home, in your plug. You don't want to have several wires that heat up, because what people often do, they'll take these wires and they'll run them under the carpet. And when it's under the carpet, people walk on it, they step on it, and what that causes is wear and tear on these wires. And it's under the carpet, so you never notice it. When it frays, you may be gone, you may be out of town, a little spark ignites, it starts a smoldering under the carpet, you're gone for several hours, well then it starts burning. So you never want to have more than the two items plugged in, the two appliances plugged into that plug. Okay, another tip that we want to give you, or a fire safety tip, is cooking. When you're cooking, and this often happens when someone's frying food on the stove, they'll put their pot or pan on the stove, turn it on, and then a phone call, a child, someone knocking at the door, any type of distraction. When you start cooking, you want to make sure that you remain in that kitchen during the entirety. You're gonna have your pan on the stove, you're gonna have a pot to cover the pan, and you know where your fire extinguisher is. So it's nothing that we really plan on having a fire, but we do plan if we have a fire. So we're ready to cook right now. We have our food, we have everything to go. The one thing with the smoke detector, we want to make sure, again, twice a year, you want to, when the time changes, you change your clock, you change your battery. You change the battery in your smoke detector. Some homes have wired in smoke detectors. Those wired in smoke detectors are great until the power goes out. So what you want to do is install a backup smoke detector, a battery operated smoke detector. And you install that in your cooking area, in your bedrooms. They're very inexpensive. You can buy them at any of the home improvement stores for under $20. You want to install it, you can call your local fire, you can call Garland Fire Department. We can tell you how to install it, where to install it. There's all kind of information on where to install your smoke detector. If you have a smoke detector that is more than 10 years old, it needs to be replaced. The technology has changed. Now we have smoke detectors with carbon monoxide detectors, and there are several types of smoke detectors that you can install, but once it's 10 years old, you need to replace that smoke detector. Okay, what happened here is our smoke detector is installed, and it's properly installed. We're approximately 15 feet away from the stove. What happened, the stove was left unattended, the grease is on the fire, the smoke detector is working the way it should be. It's going off right now At this point is when you tell everyone in the house, you alert everyone else in the house to get out. At this time, if the stove, if nothing's on fire, then you check, you turn your fire down, and everything is okay. But if you do see flames, before you start to fight the fire, you have someone call 911. If you get the fire extinguished before the fire department gets there, that's great. But if not, they're en route already. This smoke detector, what I've went to my stove and discovered that my grease got too hot. There's really not a way to reset this smoke detector other than taking it down from the wall away from the heat. But you do not want to take this smoke detector down. You do not want to remove the battery from the back. You want to keep it on there. But now I know I've turned my fire down. I'll just give it a minute. If it's smoky in the house, I'll have to open my windows, let some of the smoke out. But the way a smoke detector works, this one detects heat. So when the heat rises in a fire, or this heat rises, that's what it's done. It gets to a certain temperature and it lets me know that it's too hot or that something's going on. There are also ones that detect it when it's smoke. But this one right here, it did its job and it did it perfectly. It notified me. I can notify everyone in the house. We get out of the house. We call 911. We know to change our battery twice a year. Once you've changed your battery, you put the fresh battery in, you remount your smoke detector. There's a test button on your smoke detector. Just you push it, you'll hear it beep. When you release, it should stop beeping. How do you know if your battery is low? Well, if your smoke detector starts chirping, sometimes you hear a little chirp, 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 chirp. Well, then that means that the battery is probably low. At that time, it may not be the 6 months. It may not be when you've changed the clock, but you need to go ahead and change that battery. Because what happens is you hear that battery chirping, 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 and you say, oh, well, it stopped. Well, guess what? That means the battery probably died. So no longer is that smoke detector going to work for you. It's the battery that actually died. When you hear it chirping and you go out of town for vacation for a week and you come back and you think your smoke detector is still working, well, the battery has actually died in it. So anytime you start hearing that chirp, change the battery then. You don't have to wait those 6 months, but definitely every 6 months you want to change that battery in that smoke detector. What we talked about today, coming in when you're cooking, we do not plan to have a fire, but we are prepared if there is a fire. Once you start cooking, you put that pan on the stove, be attentive to it. Do not be distracted by the telephone, by neighbors, or by children. If you hear your smoke detector go off, immediately look around, see if there's smoke in the house, tell everyone to get out, and at that point, you call 911. You have your fire extinguisher. You can attempt to put the fire out yourself. You can put a pan over the fire, over the cooking fire, and if it doesn't go out then, you back out of the home with your fire extinguisher and you've called 911. The fire department is on the way. But call the fire department before you attempt to put out the fire so they are en route. Everyone is out the house, everyone is safe, and you have a meeting spot. Your smoke detector, you've checked it, you've changed your battery. If you know you changed your battery, the twice a year, you check the button, you push the button, you listen for the sound. If it doesn't make a sound, then either your battery is dead, you get a new battery. If you change the battery, put a fresh battery in it, it doesn't work, then it's time to get a new smoke detector. Smoke detectors have a lifespan of about 10 years. You may think it still works, but at that 10 years, do not take that chance with your life. Get rid of that smoke detector, spend the $10 or $20 and buy a new one and replace it. We also talked about the electrical outlets. The electrical outlets, there's 2 plugs, and they're designed for a certain amount of electricity to flow through there. If you plug too many things in and too many extension cords, then you can cause a spark, you can cause the wire to overheat. Where this often happens is around Christmas time. You have all the Christmas lights up, you wrap them up, you plug several outlets in there, use a surge protector. That's what they're designed for. The Christmas time, the holidays, that is the time, especially when family and friends are gathered around, that you don't want to have a fire. We hope you use these safety tips. I'm Merrill Balancier. Join us again next time for FireWatch.